So here's my setup done on the cheap. I am between shops right now. Most of my work is done outside, so we're coming up on the rainy season. I needed to get some sort of a shelter in place for the rain, and this is what I came up with. I've had these structures before, but I was really not using them properly. What I mean by that is I was using them for storage, which meant I needed them there full time. And then the snow came, and it was so full of stuff I couldn't get to it to get the snow off. It wasn't made for snow, and they collapsed, and it was just a mess. So that's not what these are meant for. But if you need some cheap temporary workspace like this, these are perfect. It was about $270 or something, $280, I don't remember, but under $300, and quick and easy to put up. I put it up myself, so you can do it with one person. And but the idea is that when I'm done with it, I can take it down. If we start getting high winds, or if we get a hard snow, I can go ahead and take it down because I'm not using it for storage, just for this project. And then what I did too is I went ahead and reinforced it. I took some self-tapping, self-drilling screws, and I put them in every joint that the unit has. So that's really going to help out quite a bit. And then I haven't done this yet, but I'm going to take some cinder blocks and weight down the legs and do it at each of the 8 legs, and that will definitely keep this weighted down. And this whole project is for the sad state of affairs here on this motor. I've got to pull the motor because I have either cracked a cylinder or a head, or best case scenario, and therefore it's not very likely, I have blown my head gasket. But I've got water into the cylinder. But I'll show you how it starts up. It starts up easily enough. I've got my manual glow plug controller set, I think, to around 10 seconds or so. Starts great, but you can see the rumbling a little bit. Missing on at least one cylinder, and right here, this is hard as a rock immediately. And also, you got that smoke coming out of the tailpipe. You can hear that pressure. That was, yeah. That's exhaust. So those are some pretty clear signs of one of those 3: cracked cylinder, cracked head, or blown head gasket, where it's got coolant has access into the cylinder. So we're going to have to pull the motor and tear it apart and see how far the damage is. And the worst part about this whole thing is it was all my fault. Everything was set up on this motor to be durable. I've got ARP head studs. This is an optimizer motor. I've got water meth injection, as you can see. All of that is meant to, and the A-Team Turbo is meant to lower cylinder pressures and manage detonation, and just have the motor be able to handle a lot of stress and high load without it self-destructing. So what happened, you might ask? Well, as some of you know, this motor runs on vegetable oil, and the way my system is set up is that it taps into the coolant system and Siameses the coolant along with the fuel and the fuel line, and it heats it up, amongst other things, to heat up the fuel. But anyway, to access the coolant, I have this line here that tees into the heater core and runs it back to along the fuel system. Well, I have also got don't know if we can see it here, but right back in there is there you can almost see it, there is a temperature probe for a autometer digital gauge. And that was done for testing on the radiator, the cooling system, and everything that I've done in those previous articles. If you haven't seen it or read them, I've done a full write-up on the standard cooling, what I call the standard cooling mods, and that is the balanced flow pump, the Hayden 2886 fan clutch, and the Duramax fan. And then I took it a step further, and I went with a Champion radiator, and I did some comparisons. And there's an article on the comparison in the stock radiator and the Champion radiator. And then I went ahead and worked with Twisted Steel and Unique Diesel, and we got it converted over to the 94 plus cooling system only because there is no 93 and below year model Champion radiator yet, but Johnny Unique Diesel is working on that, so hopefully he should have that out soon. But anyway, that's where that probe is, and I needed to get back there and pull the plug off of that probe and put it on the temperature pickups I have in right there in the radiator. So anyway, I just got in there and I lifted this hose up, pushed it out of the way to get to it, and pulled that wire off, swapped them over, and then hit the road. Well, what I had ended up doing was lifting this up here and pushing this connector against my downpipe, as you can see, and it melted and it broke. And when that broke, it blasted all the coolant all over the place. I was towing my RV up a grade, so it was under load, it was running warm, and everything. When you lost the coolant, you lose pressure. When you lose pressure, it vaporizes the coolant and everything. You get massive hot pockets in there, and the differences in temperature will crack the metal. So that's the worst case scenario. Best case is the motor was able to handle it, and I've just got a blown head gasket. But you know how those things go. So anyway, that's where we're at. We're going to go ahead and pull this motor. I'm going to try to do my best to do as thorough a job as I can in showing the entire process. I'm going to pull the whole front clip off. I did put this motor in without pulling the front clip, and that was a mistake. I was able to do it, but it was a mess. So I'm going to do my best to be able to show you taking the front clip off, being able to pull this motor out. And as you can see, again, I'm doing it under regular shade tree mechanic circumstances, so you know, it's not above anybody else's capabilities as well, and that's what I'll be showing you here. So here we go, follow along, and we'll start tearing this thing down.